also really want to start reading it. So, it's by Jonathan Haidt. So yeah, let's get started. I was almost like done with the whole thing. Like I just had like a paragraph left, and then I realized my mic wasn't plugged in. So that sucks. Okay. Introduction. Too much wisdom. What should I do? How should I live? And whom should I become? Many of us ask such questions, and modern life being what it is, we don't have to go far to find answers. Wisdom is now so deep and abundant that it floods over us from calendar pages, tea bags, bottle caps, and mass email messages forwarded by well-meaning friends. We are in a way like residents of Jorge Luis Borges' Library of Babel, an infinite library whose books contain every possible string of letters, and therefore somewhere an explanation of why the library exists and how to use it. But Borges' librarians suspect that they will never find that book amid the miles of nonsense. Our prospects are better. Few of our potential sources of wisdom are nonsense, and many are entirely true. Yet, because our library is also effectively infinite, no one person can ever read more than a tiny fraction. We face the paradox of abundance. Quantity undermines the quality of our engagement. With such a vast and wonderful library spread out purpose and meaning is precisely the goal of the new field of positive psychology, a field in which I have been active. So this book is in a way about the origins of positive psychology in ancient wisdom and the applications of positive psychology today. Most of the research I will cover was done by scientists who would not consider themselves positive psychologists. Nonetheless, I have drawn on 10 ancient ideas and a great variety of modern research findings to tell the best story I can about the causes of human flourishing and the obstacles to well-being that we place in our own paths. The story begins with an account of how the human mind works. Not a full account, of course, just two ancient truths that must be understood before you can take advantage of modern psychology to improve your life. The first truth is the foundational idea of this book. The mind is divided into parts that sometimes conflict. Like a rider on the back of an elephant, the conscious reasoning part of the mind has only limited control of what the elephant does. Nowadays, we know the causes of these divisions and a few ways to help the rider and the elephant work better as a team. The second idea is Shakespeare's, about how thinking makes it so. Or, as Buddha said, our life is the creation of our mind. But we can improve this ancient idea today by explaining why most people's minds have a bias towards seeing threats and engaging in useless worry. We can also do something to change this bias by using 3 techniques that increase happiness, 1 ancient and 2 very new. The second step in the story is to give an account of our social lives. Again, not a complete account, just 2 truths, widely known but not sufficiently appreciated. 1 is the golden rule. Reciprocity is the most important tool for getting along with people, and I'll show you how you can use it to solve problems in your own life and avoid being exploited by those who use reciprocity against you. However, reciprocity is more than just a tool. It is also a clue about who we humans are and what we need. A clue that will be important for understanding the end of the larger story. The second truth in this part of the story is that we are all, by nature, hypocrites. And this is why it's so hard for us to follow the golden rule faithfully. Recent psychological research has uncovered the mental mechanisms that make us so good at seeing the slightest speck in our neighbor's eye, and so bad at seeing the log in our own. If you know what your mind is up to, and why you so easily see the world through a distorting lens of good and evil, you can take steps to reduce your self-righteousness. You can thereby reduce the frequency of conflicts with others who are equally convinced of their righteousness. At this point in the story, we'll be ready to ask, where does happiness come from? There are several different happiness hypotheses. One is that happiness comes from getting what you want, but we all know, and research confirms, that such happiness is short-lived. A more promising hypothesis is that happiness comes from within and cannot be obtained by making the world conform to your desires. This idea was widespread in the ancient world. Buddha in India and the Stoic philosophers in ancient Greece and Rome all counseled people to break their emotional attachments to people and events, which are always unpredictable and uncontrollable, and to cultivate instead an attitude of acceptance. This ancient idea deserves respect, and it is certainly true that changing your mind is usually a more effective response to frustration than is changing the world. However, I will present evidence that this second version of the happiness hypothesis is wrong. Recent research shows that there are some things worth striving for. There are external conditions of life that can make you form and need to form with others. I skipped like 2 lines. There are external conditions of life that can make you lastingly happier. One of these research on post-traumatic growth reveals when and why people grow from adversity and what you can do to prepare yourself for trauma or to cope with it after the fact. We have also heard repeated urgings to cultivate virtue in ourselves because virtue is its own reward, but that too is an oversimplification. I'll show you how concepts of virtue and morality have changed and narrowed over the centuries, and how ancient ideas about virtue and moral development may hold promise for our own age. I'll also show how positive psychology is beginning to deliver on that promise by offering you a way to diagnose and develop your own strengths and virtues. The conclusion of the story is the question of meaning. Why do some people find meaning, purpose, and fulfillment in life, but others do not? I begin with a culturally widespread idea that there is a vertical spiritual dimension of human existence, whether it is called nobility, virtue, or divinity, and whether or not God exists. People simply do perceive sacredness, holiness, or some ineffable goodness in others and in nature. I'll present my own research on the moral emotions of disgust, elevation, and awe to explain how this vertical dimension works and why the dimension is so important for understanding religious fundamentalism, the political culture war, and the human quest for meaning. I'll also consider what people mean when they ask, "What is the meaning of life?" And I'll give an answer to the question, an answer that draws on ancient ideas about having a purpose, but that uses very recent research to go beyond these ancient ideas, or any ideas you are likely to have encountered. In doing so, I'll revise the happiness hypothesis one last time. I could state that the final version here